How is everybody doing today? Welcome to the Making Awesome Podcast, Season 3, Episode 20. We're going to be talking all about knowing your market and understanding what that market validation, market research looks like. And if you are looking to get into a business, whether it be a maker business or otherwise, this is imperatively important. Because if you don't know your market, what the hell do you know? We got some people hanging out in the chat. We got Madcat USA, Savvy515, who's actually out sanding one of their big first FDM multi-piece prints. So those are always fun. Highly recommended to go down that route. We got Shotgunner5609 hanging out as well. And we got my buddy Russ. Russ, I got your email. Thank you, sir. And I hope that everything goes well for you. Only Russ and I will know that, but you know what? I'm okay with that. So let's dive into a bit of this and let's review what we're going to be covering today. So we're going to be looking at what is market validation, why you should care, how to define your MVP persona. That's your most valuable product, but the persona of that person. Tam, Sam, and Sam, we'll go over those in a bit. Who to ask and why, what happens if it fails, and what happens if it succeeds. There is a lot going into market validation and business validation, and if you don't get it right, it will tank your business. And I'm going to talk about some personal experiences with this too, where I had market validation on my side, but the idea ultimately didn't work. Now, there are some external factors involved in that, but I think it's important to share experiences with you guys during a teaching opportunity, right? Because those experiences of where things have worked well for me and where they haven't are incredibly valid and important for those that are looking to get into a similar or relative market. So let's talk about what market validation is and why you should care. So market validation and business idea validation, while they're not technically the same thing, go very much hand in hand together, right? Without a market validation, your business is not validated whatsoever, right? But you can not really have a distinct market validation, but still have an okay business. It depends on what you're doing and what you're selling for. And you can have a business validation and you can have a market validation independently, right? Similar to how we're taking and validating a market for the politician, yet I'm not going to build a separate business around it. We're just going to sell it. That means that there's not so much of a business validation as there is just a standard market validation. We've got some more people here hanging out. Thank you guys for coming over. We got SJC, Sebastian Jackal, and Hack Monkey. Hello to everyone. I have some hair that wants to come to the front of my neck. It's annoying. So what is market validation? Market validation effectively covers whether or not people will actually buy your product. And for a lot of us as makers make terrible customers, by the way, because our base goal is, hey, let's just make stuff and I can make this and I don't need you. That's what makers think. And because we have that ideology, it's difficult for us to understand the value of others. Speaking of the value of others, thank you, Russ, for the $20 super chat. Greatly appreciate your support, buddy. And I wish you the best in your upcoming vacation, dude. I am so excited for you. One day I will take a vacation. That is not today. Chris Catlett says something, hair tie, something. Loki normally has my hair ties, but Loki doesn't have my hair ties today. There's a Loki model on my desk. I normally put the hair ties on his horns. But I got a hair tie here, so if it continues to become a problem, I will just tie my hair back. Stockport Slayer says, hi all. Hopefully everyone's having a wonderful Sunday, morning, evening, afternoon, whatever it might be. But market validation is that, do you actually have a damn business? And us as makers, we will always say, well, I can make it, I can do this. Do you really have the time to do it? When someone comes to you with a project idea, and most commonly we get like cosplay stuff that comes through, and I always turn that work down because there's Just there's no money in it for me. There's no validation in that business model because the customer base is used to a very DIY aspect. If you want to go after the cosplay market, you must hit a price point or a quality point that makes the buyer not want to do the work themselves. That's why I say that the maker market are generally a pretty bad market to do business with. And I say this as someone who's building The Politician, which is a filter and hot air producer for resin and FDM 3D printing. It basically maintains a chamber temperature for you up to 65 degrees centigrade. Although I found that parts that I ordered were not the right ones. These ones are 70C. So we'll probably just use those in testing and not use them in end-use products. But those are resettable thermal fuses. That way the heatsink doesn't get beyond a certain temperature, basically forcing you to an upper echelon limit of your chamber temperature. Because if your heatsink can't get hotter, neither can your chamber. And 70C is a little bit too warm. I want to be able to print this thing out of PLA if we can, because we are going to be getting a custom color made for it. And I'm very excited for that. That whole market is based around makers and people that are just like, well, I'll just 3D print it myself. Well, I'm not going to release the file, so you can't do that. If you would like to compete, by all means, go ahead. What I'm going to do is not going to stop you, so you're just going to decide to do it or not. And we're going to use a custom color, which means if someone does copy the CAD for some reason, I'm going to know because you're not going to be able to buy the color. So these are our ways of validating if the market is useful to us. But it also doesn't really, it doesn't hit that mark of a dedicated business, right? A dedicated business wants to see what a market validation will look like and what a market will, be there. And so we have this TAM, SAM, SOM thing. Maybe you've heard it before, maybe you haven't. But TAM is your total addressable market. SAM is your serviceable available market. And SOM is serviceable obtainable market. So I'm looking at my total addressable market of the maker community in general. Well, okay, fine. Makers might want this. Well, we're making it in a way that makers would want it. It's coming as a kit. You will not be able to buy it fully assembled. You must assemble it yourself. The core components of it will be done for you, like the heaters mounted to the heatsink. All of that will be done for you, so you don't have to do that. And you will have to do wiring. There will be required wiring. You will be walked through how to do it. And it will be a nut and bolt kit, so you can assemble it. And it will not come with a power supply. The reason it will not come with a power supply is because you all probably have a bucket of power supplies laying around, and your significant other is probably telling you to get rid of them. You're welcome. We had a request from our Discord to have it also utilize a 19-volt standard as well for those that have random laptop power supplies laying around. So we will have a 19-volt option. So it'll be a 12-volt, 24-volt, and a 19-volt option. But it is very simple for us to just change the voltage. We're just using a resistor to do it. It's not that complicated. Vince will ask, can I do a video on the software that I use and the general backend? They're looking to get into business, but finding these back-end answers are tough. I don't use any. So this is the thing about 3D Musketeers. It is very, very, very manual at this point. And I like that because it means that we give a unique specific quote for each customer. Now, from a scalable business model, that's not a good move. But we're not at a point where I need to offload that. I want someone to feel as though that they are special, that they are important, that they are unique, because everybody is special, they are important, and they are unique. But I don't want this to be, oh, upload your file for a free quote. So many other places do that. If that's what you wanted, you would go to them. I'm not going to be that person. In terms of farm management, it's SD cards. I just do it manually. I have been enjoying the Bamboo, which reminds me I need to send it another file, which is interesting. But it has been a challenge. I've been enjoying the ability to send it files, but I don't like some of the other things that I've had to do with that Bamboo. Sebastian Jackal is asking, I wish I had done a lot of hypothesis validation already before I got into full-blown manufacturing, wouldn't I? So you're doing small scale trial one on the politician first. Yes, we are. So we're going to be doing a closed beta. It'll be invite only, and when we are open for that, I will let people know. We already have a pretty decent list of people that are going to be on that beta, and a lot of them are the Patreon members because they support us, and I want to give them a little bit of something back in return. By the way, if you want to give us something back in return and you don't want to spend a dime doing it, you can make sure to leave a like on this video. But if you do have a couple of bucks and you do want to kick it into that creator fund, I recommend waiting just a couple of days. We have not converted our Patreon over to subscription basis because you're not able to change it back. So if you do want to give us a couple of bucks, wait until the first of the month and then kick a couple of bucks via Patreon. YouTube channel members, I believe, operates regularly as a subscription model. So if you want to do that, you can go ahead and do that as well. Hack Monkey says, if you are an Octoprint or Clipper user, the Bamboo workflow is very jarring. I use Octoprint just for the time-lapse setup. I don't use it for anything else. Again, I don't really like cloud services. I don't care if it's Octoprint or something else. The work that we do is generally heavily protected under non-disclosures. So the best thing that I can use is an SD card because there's no damn cloud for that, and I don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. Anyways, market validation is really making sure that when you release your product, you're going to have a market there for it. Now, had I had the time, the politician should have been released sometime in November, right? Because you want to hit that cold season for everybody. But I didn't, and I haven't had time. I was supposed to be doing it yesterday, and I decided I'm going to take a bit of a slower day, relax, and work on some other prototypes, like the Bamboo AMS adapter for the Jesse spools, that is removable, which is a big damn deal for those that don't know that. That's a huge, huge deal. Vince Wall is talking about inventory control and billing. So billing, we use Xero. It's Xero. It's an accounting software. We have an accountant, so my accountant takes care of it. I preferred QuickBooks, but I'm sure there are options out there for you. In terms of inventory, I just look behind me. If you have so much inventory that you have to have an inventory management system, then you're on a different level, right? You might have VC backing. You're not bootstrapped. So, Spurluck says, I need some help on that Jesse adapter for the Bamboo AMS. Yeah, this one fits, but it's a little tight, and I want it to be easily removable. This does work, though. I've checked it. It does fit and function inside the AMS. I just need to print one that's slightly bigger. Anyways. So, looking at these markets, you want to see, is it something that you can validly turn into a business? And I'm not saying because your mom or your dad or your brother or your cousin or whomever says, yeah, you can do this. They're not your target market. Don't ask them. They're going to give you their advice whether you want it or not. So just, I don't know, listen. But realistically, just because my mom thinks I'm the best 3D printer on the planet doesn't mean I am. Love you, Mom. But it's the truth. And we need to look at what the people that will actually pay you. And I'm not talking about $20 for a 10-hour print. I'm talking $20 for a 2-hour print, $20 for a 3-hour print, right? Where there's actual money in it for you. And not just working for pennies on the dollar. We want to find a market that is viable, sustainable, and can be grown. Because if you can't do that, you're going to run into situations where you run out of steam because there's no money left in it for you. Sebastian Jackal says, I need a spool switcher for my AMS, as all my favorite filament makers use spools that are too wide for that thing. And that's why this one thins out to a much thinner surface. You have to use a riser. It's a thing. I'm going to get into it in a future video. Once I have these files good, we're going to release them. We're going to sell them if people want to buy them. And we're going to release them open source as well. Anyways. So let's go back to the early days of 3D Musketeers and what that looked like. We started in a shopping mall here in Florida, the Wiregrass Mall in Wesley Chapel, Florida, for those that want to look it up. We had an inline store. It was about $2,500 a month for us, and we had a temporary lease, which means at any time they could pull our lease if they had a permanent client coming in. But it means that we had stricter rules, things like we had to be open all the time. I did my market research in the area. There were two incredibly upper class neighborhoods in the area, right? Homes that had a median household income north of $250,000, which means they have disposable income. We looked at what people go to malls for, and a lot of it was, besides the clothing shopping, they go to it to look for unique things that they can get for other people. Okay, we can create unique things for other people. We had invested in some full color sandstone 3D printers, of which I still have one that is for sale. So if you are looking to get a full color sandstone 3D printer, let me know. They're about $80,000 brand new. This one comes with a ton of spare parts. And if you are local to the Tampa Bay area, I will help you service it for 6 months at no additional charge. There's my pitch on that. But we look at what else that market did, right? I went to that mall a couple of days. I took a clicker with me and I counted how many people came there, right? I wanted to see what the foot traffic would be at the different locations that we were looking at inside of that mall. Based on some calculations, I can get a rough idea of what our sales numbers should have been, right? I asked people, would they like custom mementos? Would they like custom figurines of their family members, of their loved ones, of their pets, of whatever it might be? And everybody had a resounding yes. Everybody they asked said yes. And when I told them the price, that it was going to start at $150 and go up from there, they were a little hesitant, but I knew the market could handle the money, right? So we said, screw it. Let's open this business. It was a terrible mistake. While people said yes, none of them actually opened up their wallets to hand me money. That was one of my biggest problems with my market validation. I didn't ask for any money. If someone says, yes, they'll pay you, and this is a good idea, then say, all right, here's a bill. When can we get you booked? When can we make this happen? When can we do this? And we found that even though when I went to the mall and got, a clicker out and counted people, I was going when the mall was most likely trafficked, not 10 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, because nobody was there. I had to be open, but nobody was there. And like Fixum Dude is saying, people are cheap, and that's okay. You have to understand what they're willing to spend. Now, when word got out what we were doing, yeah, we did okay. But for the first 6 to 8 months, we made no profit and in fact lost upwards of 10 grand a month. That is a lot of money to go down the drain. And it hurt because I was working there. We had to be physically open 72 hours a week. And I had to staff that the entire time. And if nobody was walking in the door, having someone sit there was a waste of money. But as soon as that door opened, I had to stop everything that I was doing and attend to them. It was a bad move for the type of business that we had, where we wanted to create unique experiences for people. We shouldn't have done that in a damn shopping mall. So there's my bit of advice there for you guys. Because while I did understand what my TAM was, my total addressable market, I didn't look at my SOM, my serviceable obtainable market. So your TAM is your... Sorry. You have your TAM, SAM, and SOM. TAM being total addressable market, SAM being serviceable available market, and SOM being serviceable obtainable market. So the TAM is how big is the largest market, right? What does that market look like around us? How big is this total addressable market that will come to this mall? SAM is the serviceable available market, which is how big the market that I can reach immediately. And SOM, which is your serviceable obtainable market, is what is the market you can reach with your current resources. And that was the one that I failed on. I failed on it because we didn't have the money to go after these neighborhoods. We couldn't afford to advertise it, so we had to rely on word of mouth. That was a bad move, Grant. And yeah, you spent the next 2 years taking yourself out of what amounted to almost $80,000 of credit card debt, the worst kind of debt to have. Now we're out of it. We don't owe anybody money except we have an EIDL loan, but that's at 3.75%. That's basically free money. And And the first payments aren't for another year, which is insane. I thought they were going to be January of 23, but no, they're in 24. So whatever. Nonetheless, my goal was to bring in business. And if you're getting into the saying, well, if I make money or I don't, it's not a big deal as long as I help others, you're not a business, you're a charity. And you should look at developing a 501c3 because that's where you're going to make money. You're not going to make money as a nonprofit. That's the idea. Now, there are ones called like B Corps, where you have a benefit corporation where a percentage of your profits go into some sort of charity, whether it is your own charity or one that your stakeholders or customers choose. But we're not going to get into that. We're going to assume most people are going to form LLCs, limited liability corporations, or limited liability companies. Some of you might choose a subchapter S. That's another talk for another day. I am not an accountant. This is not financial advice. But I would assume that most of you are going to choose an LLC. You also need to understand what that MVP looks like, that minimum viable product. And you need to see what that minimum viable persona looks like, right? What does your MVP look like? The politician. It's a name. Does anybody care about that? No. Is it hilarious? Yes. And that's the idea. The idea is that it's a funny name because what does it do? It does exactly what a politician does. Filters and produces hot air. Now, does it really clean the air? No, it's a carbon filter. It doesn't clean the air. Get over it. Because if we put a HEPA filter in it, we would need such a much larger fan. It wouldn't fit into the small spaces that we need. It's going to remove some of the smell. It's not going to remove the toxic whatever shit that's going into the air that I don't understand. It's not supposed to. And it's going to have disclaimers talking about that stuff. Spurluck says, if you want to be a nonprofit, talk to someone who knows about those. It's an entirely different beast. My wife has to run a couple. I've started a few as well. 503c has a ton of rules. That is correct. Things like full transparency is something that the private sector does not understand. That is a requirement from a nonprofit. And if you are looking to get involved with a nonprofit, check out their GuideStar profile if they have one. GuideStar has normally been a pretty good way for me to look at 501c3s to see if they're worth my time. But yeah, I used to really want to get into that kind of thing. Because it would be really fun to be, hello, my name is Grant and I do grant writing. Lo and behold, it's a very thankless industry. Helvetia Air asks, just tuned in, interesting topic. Is the stream available later on? Sorry, YouTube noob question, but I need to cook now. It will be, so as soon as the stream is done, it will be available for, review. You can watch it whenever. And then a week later, everything goes out to the podcast channels. So iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, that kind of thing. All of that will go out about a week after the main show. So yeah, Mondays around noon or so is when I post the previous week's podcast. It's in my calendar to do it. That's when I remember to do it. So yeah, if you do want to watch later on, you can. But while you're here, leave a like before you head out onto your day. But it is fun to do it live because that means you get to ask me questions and comment and all that while we're talking. So there is a reason to come along and have some fun there. So looking at the serviceable obtainable market, that was really my Achilles heel. And the problem that I dealt with was, even though people said they would pay for it, right? My serviceable available market, that was the one that I could immediately reach, said they would pay for it. None of them actually did because I didn't have the resources to continue to go with them. So my best bet was, let's pick an industry that I know a lot about. At the time, we worked a lot with other small businesses. So I said, all right, what small businesses exist? At the time, conventions were huge, right? This was before the human malware. We started 3D Musketeers in 2016. Yeah, 2016. So this would be year 7 for us. We officially opened April 1st of 2016 to the public for those that care. Maybe is April 1st going to be a week that will have a day that will have a podcast? It's a Saturday. Maybe we'll do that Sunday as the next stream with all the staff. Maybe we'll do a staff stream on that to celebrate 7 years of 3D Musketeers. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think on that. We had a request to do a staff stream at some point, and it's going to turn into the staff roasting me. We all know how this works. So I guess we're going to end up doing that. But understanding what that customer persona looks like, right? You really want to know what they do, where they shop, what their household income is, and how you can obtain some of that money and what they're looking for. So let's look at more of a refined market for a minute. One that I think is really, 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 really saturated. So, that's my personal take. MacHat USA says, thought it was going to be an April Fool's printer maintenance stream. Oh, shit, you're right. We did have a video coming out for that. Oh, all right. Maybe not. I don't know. Damn it, I don't know. I think we might make that its own separate video that comes out that Saturday. I don't know. It's far enough in the future that that's a future Grant problem. Current Grant is trying to get through a podcast. Current Grant has ADHD and is not medicated. All right, so market validation, looking at that customer persona. I want to know about these people. I want to know what they do for a living, right? Are they blue collar? Are they white collar? Are they government? What do they do? Because if you don't know your market well, you could have a problem. So let's look at the tabletop gaming industry, one that is, I think, very heavily saturated unless you're providing things very cheap or very high quality. We talked about this before. Cosplay similar. It's similar. Worst Peter's asking, how does customer persona work for B2B? It's very, very similar, but instead of identifying individual people, you are identifying businesses as people, right? A B2B, you're still working with an individual, right? I still work with the same people, right? When I call one of our customers, I get the same person. When I call our injection molding facility, I get the owner, and he always says, hello, darling. This is the relationship I have with some of my customers. It's weird. I don't know. One of my other customers, we communicate basically solely in Top Gun quotes. Why? I don't know. It just happened. One of my customers brought out firearms on my first time meeting them. So anytime I see interesting firearms, I'm out and about, I send him text messages. And that reminds him that he has work for me. Right? B2B is still working with individuals. It's just you're looking more at a refined business. So I'm going to do it for tabletop gaming. So we'll work with that. Tabletop gaming is traditionally male focused. Right? A lot of guys are in it. They're going to be in their generally early 20s to early 40s. That's a pretty good range for tabletop gaming. You'll have ones that stay longer, ones that stay shorter, but they have to have disposable income. Tabletop gaming is an incredibly expensive hobby, especially if they're buying things from Games Workstation or Games Workshop, whatever the hell they're called. I don't care. If they're playing Warhammer and they're actually buying branded Warhammer stuff, they have to have disposable income because there's so much money involved. When I go to my local game board place, shout out to Your Turn, a board game cafe in Zephyr Hills, Florida. The owners, Dan and Sarah, are awesome. They don't pay me to say that, but I love them. They are absolutely phenomenal, and they run a hell of a business. They have over 2,000 board games. I didn't know there were 2,000 board games out there. Nonetheless, when I go there, it is traditionally male focused. You'll see some women getting involved in it. I've brought Amber as well, and we've seen other people there. But traditionally, it's the guys that it's focused on. And they know that, right? That's their market. You gotta know your market. So if you want to sell to this, don't make products that are going to be specifically for women. Unless your goal is to do very, very, very high value, but low sale number products, right? You need to solve a problem. If these are people that love wargaming but hate the painting process, then maybe you should be offering painted minis. But you have to understand, how much does this problem cost them, or what is it worth for them to be solved? If you're going to start selling minis and not know if people are going to pay for them, that's a bad move because you don't have a valid market. You need to validate whether or not this market exists. So you go there, maybe you take a class on painting or two and get an idea for those that are learning to paint and the amount of frustration that they go through. Maybe you see that people are clogging their airbrushes more often, so you offer a service to come and clean out your airbrush, right? Hey, I'll come to you, or hey, we meet at this board game place once a month. I'll unclog your airbrushes and help you get better at airbrushing. That's a great service that can be offered. But if no one is using airbrushing and they're just painting with brushes, well, hold on. Now you don't have a market anymore. right? So you have to understand what this problem is worth to somebody. Sebastian Jackal asks, when we do product for B2B, we usually model roles within the potential customer. Correct. He said, you solve business problem X. Who are your customer organizations? Who within the organization needs that problem solved? Who needs to maintain your solution? And what manager needs to sign off on the purchase? Bingo. In some industries that we work in, we don't have to have any managerial sign off because we work with salespeople or we work with the procurement individual. We don't work with anybody lower than them. It depends on the certain industries. But there are other industries where it's like, hey, I got to go talk to my boss. All right, I won't hear back from you for a week, week and a half, and that's okay. But in 4 days, I have a reminder set to send you a follow-up email and make sure that everything's going all right. And if there's any questions that I can do it, because people get busy, sometimes they need to be reminded, hey, it's time to do it. Oh, Sebastian says, I'm not asking that he's an IT consultant and they work with customers in digital product dev a lot. There you go. So, yeah, I think I knew those were rhetorical. I hope I described it well that way. Maybe I didn't. I'm sorry if I didn't. So defining that persona looks like, what is their need and what can you solve? If you don't know what a problem is, then trying to solve the problem is a waste of everybody's time, right? Because there is no problem. If I came out and said, I'm going to start selling helmets that are raw 3D printed for, I don't know, $600, nobody is going to buy them. Nobody is going to buy them. So you got to be careful about that. You have to make sure that people are willing to buy it and then understand what they're willing to pay for it. So when I did all my research, I said, yeah, they'll buy it. They're willing to pay for it. But I never had anyone go that extra step. That extra step is literally the most important thing and the thing that I absolutely missed. You know, it's a problem. It happens. So when we look at a problem, right? Here's a problem. The cap on my water bottle is broken. It doesn't stay shut anymore. And while it has a secondary closer, it's supposed to have a button that opens it, and it doesn't hold anymore. And it is really frustrating because I like that water bottle. Instead of sending me a new part, the company sent me a new water bottle, which, okay, fine, I get that. But that means you want me to dispose of this one rather than attempt to fix it. As a maker, I know that 3D printing is not body safe, so I can't fix it. I'm just going to use that secondary closer. And when that fails, then yeah, the bottle's unfortunately trashed. And there's nothing I can do about it. Because if a company doesn't want to provide those parts, it's going to be a problem. It's worse, Peter says, it's not an LTT water bottle. That's right, it's not an LTT water bottle. I don't want to spend $40 on a water bottle. Yeah, I want to find a solution, right? To the company, it doesn't make sense to send me a new lid. But for me, my solution was, I just need that same lid. That's what I needed. And while I could sit here, CAD something out, print it, cast it in a mold, and then pour it out of some sort of epoxy resin, that is so much extra effort when a new water bottle's $20. I reached out to try to buy a spare part. Apparently these water bottles have lifetime warranty, so they sent me a new one. Okay, I guess that works, right? But as a consumer, I would have rather just fix the one that I have than utilize a new one. And the new one's a little bit different. It's weird. I digress. But it is about solving that problem. If you can't solve a problem for somebody, then you don't really have a business. Businesses fundamentally solve problems. What does the politician solve? The politician solves the problem of chamber temperatures not being hot enough for the materials that you want to run in them. That is what the politician solves. If you don't have a product to fit that need, and you don't have a need that exists, then you don't need a product to fulfill it. I have a problem. When we print in cold temperatures with resin, it doesn't work. Why doesn't it work? Because the resin printer is too cold and the resin itself is too cold. And when resin gets cold, it gets more viscous. When it's more viscous, it becomes a problem. So how do we solve it? We produce a heater. Okay, plenty of people have done heaters. Plenty of people have done filters. Well, I don't like the smell. Okay, fine. Let's look at how we can add a filter onto a heater. I found a way to do it. Cool. Will it make the air clean? No. Will it remove the smell? Mostly. So, do we have a problem? No. There's no issue. I built this product for me. And that's why I'm not rushing to get it to market, because ultimately, if it doesn't sell, I don't care. If it does sell, great, I'm happy. But the goal is to provide a product that works for me, that I can make and sell at a profit that I am comfortable with at a $50 price point. That's what we're going for. Oh, Chris Catlett says, Grant, cold. Yeah, I get it. I'm a weenie. I live in Florida. It is currently 27 C outside or 81 degrees freedom for those that prefer it in freedom units or Fahrenheit, whatever. It is not cold here today. In fact, it is a very warm day in late January in Florida. But the goal for this was to fit into an Elegoo Mars. And it can. So we're going to move forward with the product. And if people don't buy it, no problem. I've made it for myself, right? And that's why I'm taking it easy. If you're going to build a product for other people, you need to make sure their market exists. That's why Kickstarter is a thing. Kickstarter is not really a way to pre-order a product. Kickstarter is a way for a company to raise money and also do market validation at the same time, right? Let's think about this for a minute. Bamboo Lab. We're going to use Bamboo because I'm pissed off at them right now. Bamboo Lab, and I'm looking over at my X1 Carbon, which is sad right now. It's very sad because it has now jammed its second hot end, and I'm not pleased. They kickstarted, right? They gained, it was either almost $6 million or almost $7 million. That is pure, unadulterated market validation that people want a 3D printer with heavy features and not have to pay a ton of money to get it, right? At $1,500, that's a lot of printer for the money. If it worked! So far, it looks like I've just gotten a lemon, but I can't stop that. That's not my fault. It's not my fault. My Prussias at $800 work just fine, and I'd buy more of them. Right now, I can't tell myself I'm going to buy another Bamboo. And as worse, Peter says, Kickstarter is also a marketing platform, but that is really what your market validation is. It's just really good marketing. I was in a class, and someone said, if you want to get a general idea of the average person, I've always told people to go to a Walmart because you're going to get tons of people, all different walks of life, all different levels of financial. No, you go to an airport because people are flying in and out all the time. People that live there, people that don't. They're flying in and out for everything from business to leisure to something in between. Airports are phenomenal places to go and get market research. But in the post-human malware world and the post-2001 world that a lot of us live in, it's not as easy to walk up to people as it was 3 or 4 years ago. And it's certainly not as easy to go talk to people waiting on their planes because you can't do that anymore. You got to get them before they get through security. So if you're okay with it, going up and asking random people like that makes sense. But if you're building a product for everybody, you're building a product for nobody. One more time, let me repeat that. If you are building a product for everybody, you are building a product for nobody. Because ultimately, everybody is not your end customer. And the better you can get your niche down, the better of a target market and a well-defined industry that you have, meaning that you have a better chance of getting sales. Now, don't get me wrong, right? There are products that have a mass market appeal, right? Jif peanut butter has a mass market appeal, but there are people that refuse to buy it and will only get the organic, non-GMO peanut butter because that's what they want. They are not a customer of Jif, and Jif doesn't care. They don't care, right? Just like I choose to say Jif instead of GIF. Do you? I just like to upset people. It's fun. Sebastian says your X1 Carbon serves as a reminder that QC and customer service are part of the product too. And in my opinion, a mediocre product with amazing customer support is better every single day of the week than an amazing product with absolutely terrible customer support. And unfortunately, Bamboo Lab has a mediocre product with mediocre customer support at best. I am over a week now waiting for a new tool head board because my tool head board is broken. I can still get the printer to work, but it's just not happy. So, I don't know. We're going to have an update video coming on this. It was supposed to come out this week, but with the Prusa XL, I'm pushing it. I want to cover the Prusa XL first. My experiences with the Bamboo Lab can wait another week, but I want to get the coverage of the Prusa XL and all that done. Tony D says, so with my composer bus you saw, do I have my wife go on piano teacher social media groups she is on and ask what they would pay for them? No. What your wife should do is go to piano teacher social media groups and ask if anyone has ever thought those would be useful. Don't mention that they're producing it. Don't mention anything about already having them done. Ask if they believe that would be helpful in teaching because they thought it might be useful in their abilities to teach. Not because seeing the composer is useful, but because seeing it can be inspirational. And if you get a resounding yes, then you have a market. If you get a resounding no, you're going to have a problem and have to look at a different way to position your product. If you are looking at presenting a product, do not show it to people. You're looking to see if they have a problem that you can solve. Showing people your product might be a public disclosure, and if you're attempting to get a patent, that public disclosure just invalidated your patent. So be careful on that. Now, for Tony's specific experience, Tony is one of our Patreon members who has Discord access, so thank you very much for your support. He is trying to sell busts of composers, and I think it's a tough one because his market is incredibly niche, but in a niche market that is close-knit, like piano teachers can be, like any teachers are, if you can break into that market, you can saturate it pretty much instantly, and they'll keep you busy for probably 6 to 8 months. But at that point, most people that have wanted them will already have had them. So you have to look at how you can expand your market reach by either adjusting your product offering or adjusting the way that you market. You know, Duff says, hey, sorry, I'm late. Home Depot run. I assume that's your second Home Depot run of the day because nobody just goes to Home Depot once. Like, you know, nobody ever does. Why am I'm being pinged for some reason? Oh, okay, cool. I asked in our private Discord why people like me, and my brother says I ask that daily. I'm being trolled by my own Discord server. Love it. What else is new? Bunch of degenerates, and I love every one of them. They're great. Oh, Duff says first trip of the day went yesterday, though. Well, you know, the day is young. So, if you are working on a product, let's say I'm working on The Politician, because I am working on The Politician. And I go around and ask family, friends, and all of that, hey, what do you think of this? Now, my parents are a little bit different. I think that they will, I think they'll give me honest answers while also being nice to me, which not really what I would be looking for. I kind of want that, answer. And my dad would ask me, do you want the dad answer or do you want the Ken Posner answer? Because there are two different answers there, right? There's the, I will support you in everything that you do, and maybe you should look at a different way of doing this. Two types of answers, right? When I came to my dad about wanting to start a company, and we said, Dad, we don't know what we want to call this. He said, well, I've always called the three of you the Three Musketeers. So why don't you call yourselves the 3D Musketeers? And I believe my initial reaction was, I hate that name. We're going with it. Because it was a funny name and it worked. And many marketing companies along the way have told me this is a terrible name and never to use it. But here we are, and I don't care. Because I can do this. But your family, generally speaking, and your friends, generally speaking, just want to see you succeed. They are not your target market, right? Family and friends don't generally pay for 3D prints, right? Unless those friends happen to work for companies and I'm working with those companies, then they pay for the 3D prints because they're asking me for prints for their businesses. If they're asking me for prints personally, I'll hook them up, right? Get them some prints, let them see the value of it. And then if they want to pay me, they can pay me. If they want to get some sort of printer for themselves, they can do that too. But the average consumer is the one you're trying to meet. So go after the average consumer and stop trying to get a bad one. By the way, we're streaming in 60 FPS. Has anybody noticed this? We're starting to record and stream everything in 60 FPS. So if you guys like it, let me know. I am trying to increase the quality of our content this year. And part of that includes being able to stream and record in 60 FPS. So let me know what you guys think. Okay, so looking at who to ask. Your friends and family are not the right people to ask. You want to go ask the potential customer of yours, but you must first figure out who they are. So understand where your product sits for pricing. If it is over $100, it is probably not an impulse buy unless it is an art-based project, right? Most people will say that $40 and less is an impulse buy area. If you're above that, you have to have a good reason to do it. We put the politician at $49.95, or at least that's the hope, because I believe that I can push that little bit of extra cash out of makers, right? I believe they'll see the value of it and they'll go for it. But if you're selling a painting class, Your Turn sells a painting class, it's $25. I believe it's worth more than that, but they want to get more people to learn painting, and it's a group class, so it's not a one-on-one thing. One-on-ones, they'll cost you more money, but if you want to do it in a group class, hey, you can learn painting. Awesome. Love it. Beautiful. They look at this and say, we want to hit the most amount of people possible to get the most amount of people in this business and love it. So they're okay spending less money and making less profit to get people in because they know as soon as people come in, they're going to buy more classes. They're going to maybe buy a drink. They're going to get some ice cream. They're going to get a bit of food. And that all has margin to it. If you can get somebody into your door as a retail business, you'll have better opportunity of an upsell. And let's talk about upsells. Upsells are pretty much the core of any small business. Right? I can do this print for you at 200 microns, or I can do it at 100, and you're going to get a significantly better quality. We can do sanding, finishing. We can do support removal. We used to offer support removal as an add-on. We don't do that anymore. We just include it because people always wanted it. And we said, all right, people doing it all the time. Great. I'll go ahead and just add it on there constantly. Worst Peter says, I can't see beyond cinematic 24 FPS because I don't have a gaming chair. I don't have a gaming chair, but I will give a shout out to Herman Miller for the Herman Miller Aaron. It is incredibly expensive. I paid $100 for this, and I am very happy with my purchase. And Herman Miller should sponsor this channel, damn it. I want more chairs. I have a back problem, for those that don't know. Robert Sneed says, hello, how you doing, Robert? Sebastian says, and if you're targeting B2B, charging under 10K might cause them not to take you seriously. That's correct. You need to understand what your customer is valued at. Your customer might only be willing to spend $50 for themselves, but when it comes to their business and who they work with, $50 might feel like a slap in the face. Why are you charging me so little? The other guy wants to do it at $2,000. Why is your product so cheap? What is wrong with it? I will never forget, and I've talked about this previously, an architect who said, you are too cheap. Minimum double your price and come back to me, and I'm going to forget that I saw this invoice. That person showed me very quickly that our prices were way too low. Were we making great money at the original price? Hell yes. But that doesn't mean that we should have stuck at it. We need to look at what the customers are able to spend. It is all about what they're able to spend, not what you're willing to charge them, right? If Northrop Grumman comes to you and asks for a part and you charge them any less than $1,000 for it, you're out of your mind because they're expecting to pay this. And they probably also want certifications for it. So make sure you use the right materials. Like we have a customer that wants UL94V0. That's fire retardant. So that's a UL listing for fire, whether it's flammable. This material is not flammable, and it's an ABS, which is funny. Actually, the spool is right there. It's that black spool. That is it. It is the smelliest material I have ever dealt with. It is so stinky. I am not printing it inside. Even on the bamboo, I'm not printing it inside. It is so smelly. But those parts are quadruple the cost that they would be if they were made out of regular materials. Not because the filament is quadruple the price, about double the price, but because the parts carry that much extra weight. There's a reason for them to be more expensive, right? They're special. And because they're special means I have to set up something special for them. And we have a minimum order quantity. As Spurluck says, remember, government, add a zero. Hospitals, add a couple of zeros. Government hospitals, keep adding zeros. But all that extra pricing, you might have to meet their requirements. That's right. Be careful about how much risk you take on with your business, especially when working with other businesses. They might have you do things like certificate of conformancy. C of Cs is what they will often be called. And for some of our customers, I must provide them. But the C of C requires no liability, no set dimension requirements. They just need it because it's a requirement for their ISO 9001 and AS 9100 certification. Those are systems for businesses. Just, if you don't know it, don't worry about it. It probably doesn't matter to you. But that certificate basically states that, yep, it's a printed part. Enjoy it. That's all the C of C means for me. For some businesses, we must go on to record stating that this is a certified material. Here are the material certifications. Here's the printer it was done on. Here are the settings that were used. And here is the previous reports that have been done on the product to validate that it meets and exceeds manufacturer specifications. Those parts get a minimum extra zero on them because I don't have that kind of time to do all that extra work for no damn reason. Worst Peter's asking if 3DM is ISO 9001 2015 certified. We are not. I know of a couple of 3D printing companies that are, but we are not. And I don't care to be. We were looking at getting our certifications. We were compliant for a while, but I found that it wasn't always worth it to me, and the clients that we worked with didn't need it. It was a nice to have, but it wasn't a necessity. And ISO 9001 requires absolute documentation for every part of your process. That includes slicing, printing, material selection, purging, support removal, boxing, packaging, and everything in between. And it must require you to source your materials from a place that can also provide you with those certifications. It is a monumental pain in the ass. So we're not. If people want to see how we do things, that's fine. But I did just add a zero to their bill, right? Yeah. Even dang IT security is in that. That is correct. That's more ITAR and CMMC. But yeah, if you don't know what those things are, don't worry about it. ITAR's International Traffic in Arms Regulation. It means that you might do things that go bang for governments. And there are certain rules and regs that you must abide by. I'm not going to get into them because that's not my field of work, and I don't know enough about it. We used to be ITAR compliant, and I guess technically we still are. However, things like the bamboo are absolutely not ITAR compliant. Absolutely not ITAR compliant. Worst Peter says, oh, ITAR got me a few times. Yeah, that's a whole different world. So we're going to move past ITAR because it's an entire subject that I could do a podcast about, but I'm not going to because I am not an expert on it. So let's get back to your TAM, SAM, and SOM. Right? So we covered your total addressable market. We covered your serviceable available market. So let's look at your serviceable obtainable market. What is the market you can reach with your current resources? And then some people go further and look at, who your actual customers are. What industry do you service, or is that top secret? I don't talk about the industries that we service because I'm not going to give away who we work with. As a private business, that is my legal right, and I will absolutely express it. Tony, if you want to talk more about it privately, I'm happy to, but just because you're a Patreon member, but I won't risk giving out customer names because that can violate non-disclosures. Nonetheless, there are some that I've talked about, but I also know that they're not going to to go away from me. They like me. We're fun like that. So let's look at our serviceable obtainable market, right? Those are what your customers actually could be. Those people, those places, those businesses. And those are the ones you need to go after, right? Those of you that know about CPC, your cost per click, Google AdWords, and that kind of thing, know that if you don't have a well-defined target market, you're going to find yourself spending a bunch of money on things that don't actually matter. So treat your target market like it is a CPC ad campaign. Start with a wide net, cast a wide net, and see what wiggles through and what doesn't. This is a sales funnel, okay? We're talking about a sales funnel here, right? And as people fall out or get jettisoned out of the funnel, you slowly figure out what your customer persona looks like. Now, there are two different ways to do this. You can do the I'm just going to send it and see what happens. And for a lot of makers, that's what they're going to do because it is very easy for us to go to market with a product where it is much more difficult for a regular company. But generally, you're going to want to do something called a research study or a market research group or a focus group or something along those lines. Focus groups are incredibly important to this because that would be your general population that fits your target market. Identify your target market, get a focus group of it. If anyone's ever approached you in a shopping mall and asked you to fill out a survey, that's a focus group. If you've ever gone to an event where they're giving you a free lunch or a $25 gift card to Grillsmith or whatever it might be, that is a focus group. You're being paid for your time to give an opinion on something. And it's funny because not going to them or going to them lets them know whether or not you fit in that target market, right? I am, for those that don't see me, a white male. I am 33 years old and I have little to no income. So, that means I fit in a specific thing. Russ says, got a date, gotta go, bye all. Russ, I wish you the best, dude. Enjoy. I'm so glad you've got this date, dude. Get out there. Make awesome? Wait, don't say that. Don't say that about a date. Do we say that about a date? Get out there and show her the man you are. Because you're a good man. And I've met you. You are an awesome gentleman. And she is lucky to have you. Good luck, dude. Anyways. Russ is a good guy. For those that don't know, Russ is... I've met Russ. Russ is one of our Patreon members that I've met in person. We met at the East Coast Rep Festival. And he got scanned. Which he should have gotten an email about his scan data. I will have to check to see if he got it. Anyways, God, Grant, you're getting way off topic. That's okay. Good people are worth getting off topic for. Research studies and focus groups. Back to it. If you are hesitant to pull a group of people, then you might not be ready. If you're hesitant to walk up to somebody, say, hey, I got some questions for you. You might not be ready. That's why companies exist that can run these groups for you. Focus groups are not that complicated to run. It is a good questionnaire, and I recommend that initially you talk with a marketing agency that knows how to do one. Because if you ask the wrong questions, it's similar to leading a witness in a court case. You will lead them to a conclusion that you fabricate rather than one that they would have gotten to on their own. And that would be an entire waste of your time. Okay? And if you bring in the wrong type of people, well, then that focus group was a waste of time, right? If I want to sell to engineers, I'm going to talk to engineers. But I might not want to get engineers in a room because the engineers might not be the ones that make the decision for money. If your product is over $5,000, chances are it needs a sign-off. So understand that. You might know who the person is that wants your product, but you might not know the person who says, sure, we can buy that. That's a big deal. So if you go down this path and you find that you don't have a target market, what happens if you fail? If you fail and see I don't have the target market or it's different than you expect, there are two different ways that you can go about this. One, you can choose to scrap the project and start a new one. Some people will choose to do that because it is the easier route. Or, two, you can look at the evidence that has been presented to you. This evidence can be very simple, like you thought that your target market was middle-aged white dudes that have little to no income. And what you found is that your target market was actually middle-aged white guys that actually have about a $90,000 to $100,000 a year salary, or they think they do. And if that helps you better recognize what your product is, it can help you better change what your product does and how you do it to get through to who you need to sell it to. It is very common that you'll find that the target customer that you want it to be might not be the one that you want, right? We have a YouTube channel that is basically just me. And talking with other creators, we have a really odd channel. We have over 30% female viewers. That is not common on on a male-ran tech YouTube channel. It's just like, it should be sub 1% or sub 5%. It's not. Why? I sincerely have no idea. It's not this pretty face, I'll tell you that much. It ain't pretty. Middle age should be defined as 35 to 45 because no one really lives to be over 100. That's fair. Sporlock says there are often many gatekeepers that you have to get through. I'm one of them in my professional role. You won't even make it to the CTO if you can't convince me and my team. Yep. And it's why I like to find the ones that don't have people like Spurluck there, because I don't like them. Gatekeepers can be a monumental pain in your ass. And there are a few different things that you can do. And I can, one day, maybe I'll tell my story of social engineering my way past a gatekeeper to get a job. OMG, Frankie says, I'm a male and I'm here for your pretty face. Well, hey, thanks for being a part. Gatekeepers can be a monumental pain in the ass, though, because good ones, oh man, I love a good gatekeeper because, oh, it's a challenge. It's like a challenge, and it becomes kind of like a game of cat and mouse, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Worst Peter says, you're lacking that toxic masculinity that probably helps with a female audience. Maybe. I appreciate that. I won't say that I am completely devoid of toxic masculinity. I would say that we have a great editor that can edit out a lot of the times that I go off on a rant when I probably shouldn't. But, you know, I try to keep it reasonably family friendly, and the podcast is more of a raw, you know, I don't give a shit. Let's just have a talk and let's rap, right? Let's talk person to person. Tony said, just remembered that my cousin owns a good sized product research company. Maybe he can help me out. Hell yes. And please actually connect me with your cousin. I would love to talk with them. Matt Guy says, honestly, I am the second level gatekeeper at my job. They have to get by the ladies at the front desk first to get to the doctor. Then they have to get by me. Shotgunner says, you like the flowing locks. I, unfortunately, did not have my hair fully dry when I went to sleep, and it's all frizzy. And I have to go to an early dinner after this. My hair's all frizzy and I don't like it and it sucks, but oh well. But we are going to be shaving off these luscious locks. I don't know when. I got to figure out when we're going to do it. We're going to be doing a charity live stream benefiting the Make-A-Wish Foundation and the Sanjay Mortimer Foundation, where we donate the hair that we can, and then what's left, we go ahead and do a charity stream, and the top 3 donors will be able to shave whatever they want into my head. And at a certain amount of money, y'all can take the beard too. This is to help charities. The hair grows back, or at least I think it does. And then I get the young look, right? Without the beard. Matt Cat says, need some cheese with that wine. As long as it is a 61 Romanier Conti, you got it, buddy. You got it. I am balding. I live vicariously through you. Yeah. Worst Peter says, what about the other hair? Stream sponsored by Manscaped? Oh, that would be you're not taking the eyebrows, you ain't taking the eyelashes. Oh, that'd be so funny if we had Manscaped. Oh, you know, that'd actually be a pretty good product integration for them if it was used to cut my hair. Damn it, that's almost... I would go to Wall first, but Manscaped would probably give me the money for that stream. See, that's, again, knowing your market, right? If I want a sponsor for that stream that's going to do some sort of, like, product integration, You would want to find the one that makes sense. Manscaped loves to sponsor YouTube channels, and they throw a ton of money at it. Wahl, the clipper brand, doesn't, because they don't need it. They already have a foothold in the market, and they're known as a professional cutting, device. But Manscaped, they're still actively working in that industry. That would be funny. Anyways, David Wilson says, have Amber do it. No. Actually, we're going to have Brad do it. Brad is one of our staff, episode 10 of the podcast, way back in the day. That one had really bad recording, and I'm sorry about that. But Brad is a Make-A-Wish recipient, and he's on our staff. So it was his idea, so he's going to be the one to shave my head. So, yeah. Anyways. So you do want to figure out what the market looks like, right? Understanding who you need to talk to. The gatekeepers, if you don't know how to get past them, you're never going to. Let me give you a story from back in my day of doing sales. I used to work at the Manscaped. Have Amber do. Damn it, David. This is not an adult stream. We saved that for the Patreon Discord. Anyways, I am so off track. Back in my days of sales, I used to be an old school salesman. I did sales in the drilling industry for wells and sinkholes here in Florida. And I figured out the best key to get past a gatekeeper. I remember this because it was when it clicked. It was an office, an engineering office. These were perfect clients, but they were totally different. This business prided themselves in only hiring female engineers. And I don't know why, but every one of those engineers were absolutely gorgeous. Every single one of them. I was single at the time. It didn't matter. Every one of them was gorgeous, right? You would have walked in and said, wow, this is not what I expect an engineering firm to look like, right? I expect it to look like dudes. You don't expect it to be women. And they had guys as their receptionists, which I always thought was funny because that's the exact reversal of what you would expect. This is not a sexism thing. It's a statistics thing. So please, leave me alone. And so I started talking to them. I said, hey, I'd love to talk to someone about bringing over the business to the company that I worked for. And they said, sure. What do you want to do? I said, I'd like your business. They said, great. So does everybody else. What are you going to do to make it worth my while? I said, okay. All right. I see how this is. You need a little something. They said, we don't need a little something, but we need to see that you're just not going door to door. I said, okay. All right. That's fine. I said, all right. Women in their early 30s to mid 40s that wear tight dresses to work every day, that take very good care of their bodies and wear high heels. What do they want? Well, they don't want donuts and coffee. I'll tell you that much. That's not what they want. So I brought in a tray of fruit and a tray of vegetables, the veggie trays and stuff. And I brought in $500 worth of gift cards to local healthy eating places. And I got every dime of their business because I figured out what it meant to respect them, right? They said, everyone just brings us donuts and coffee because they think we're just like every other engineering firm. And we're not. We're an engineering firm that values people that care about us. You're the first person to ever come in here and actually say, I can tell you all don't want donuts and coffee. Maybe you do, but you're not going to eat them. You're going to eat the things that you would eat every day. And then we had a good relationship with them. They were about a $2 million a month client. They were great. Bribe them with food. Welcome to sales. Okay. Half of the sales industry is how can I get this person to go play golf with me? And the other half of it is the client saying, how can I get an excuse to go play golf on a Friday afternoon? Right? Or how can I get someone to pay for my lunch and dinner today? Which sales guy is going to pay for my lunch today? But it meant building a relationship, right? That stuff got me in the door, but it didn't keep them with me. What kept them with me is that I legitimately gave a shit about doing a good job for them. I made sure that I sent the best guys to the jobs, and if there were ever any issues, they could reach out to me directly on my personal cell phone, right? When there's ever a customer issue, the customer gets my personal cell phone number because I don't want them to have to call through the company. Not that you get anybody else different, but it is a it is a better feeling when they know they can reach me directly 24 hours a day if there's a problem. And I remember one time there was. It is social engineering, as Chris Travis says. We had a job that went south. We had a team that had an argument with each other, and two of the guys walked off the job. I got a very irate phone call from one of those engineers saying, get out there and fix it. Those guys quit. We had nobody else. So I called the owner and said, hey, we had two guys walk off the job. It's our job now. He said, all right, I'll meet you there. And we took a photo and we sent it to them of myself and the owner, totally dirty, because we were drilling for sinkholes. And it was very, very funny. Their reaction was just, you win. The text back I got was, you win. Because that was me proving to them that I cared enough to get dirty to keep their business. And it is social engineering. Sometimes you got to do those kinds of things. But that is how I get past the gatekeepers, right? Social engineering is how you do it. But good gatekeepers know about it, and they don't let it get through unless they're really, really good or they surprised you. So be aware of that kind of stuff. I missed that job because I made a ton of money doing it, but it was just, I don't know, it was a lot of fun. It just wasn't very fulfilling for me, so I ended up leaving. It was also during my master's degree, so there was other things on my mind at the time. So if you succeed in a good client identification, you succeed in identifying your market, you succeed in marketing to them, and you succeed in getting to the people that need to buy it. Congratulations. You've built a business. Now, you have the hardest thing out there. You actually have to sell. You actually need to sell it. Because if you can't sell it and you can't close the deal, then what's the point of you even trying? Let's get into this. Success can be a serious problem. Success can be a serious problem if you don't know how to handle it. It's why when I see companies do $6 million on Kickstarter, I get worried, because that economies of scale is incredibly complicated to deal with if you don't know precisely what you are doing. So be very careful if you don't know precisely what you're doing, and bring on a team of people that can help you, right? Now, if you're just starting off selling a product here or there, it's no big deal. Sell it, enjoy it, have fun. But if you want to get ultra serious with it, it is good to have other people to back you up and help you. Having a team can be one of those things that make or break a business. I know it does for us. And I have chosen to grow our team rather than give myself a paycheck year after year after year. And I hope that this year I can do both, right? With what we are doing to expand the ways that we make money here at 3D Musketeers, and the YouTube channel being one of them, right? We're at a point where the channel is starting to become self-sufficient, which is, by God, I'm so happy about it, because it has been 2 years of me just literally lighting $100 bills on fire multiple times a week. I'm glad that we're there. But I wouldn't be there without our team, and I wouldn't have gotten there without our team. So behind every successful solopreneur is someone that wishes they had a team. And I believe that taking care of your team is as important, if not more important, than taking care of your customers, right? I remember firing a customer. This was a gentleman who was from Bahrain and, lived in Bahrain, but was Iraqi. I was not aware of some of the cultural practices in the Middle East at that time. And I had one of our female design engineers work on his project. And when he found out, he came in and basically started yelling at her. And I got right in and said, you get the ever-loving hell out of my business right now. And if you don't turn around and walk out right now, I will be going to jail. He very kindly understood what I was saying and left. I fired a customer that day because they didn't respect my team. He still owed us like $3,000, and I was totally fine with it. For the OGs, that's Doc Lobster. Nobody else will know who it is, but some of the OGs in the company will know who Doc Lobster is. But yeah, I remember turning that man away, and then years of him calling me, trying to get our business or trying to get us to do his project again because nobody else would take him. I didn't talk to anybody. They just didn't like the guy. I clearly didn't see the signs. I didn't know the practices. I chose my team over money because I believe when push comes to shove, they're going to be there for me too. And if I can't be there for them, how can I expect them to be there for me? I believe that a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. And if that weakest link is me, then I need to build one hell of a chain around me, right? I need to surround myself with the right people. And if I'm the smartest person in the room, I've done something wrong. If you are the smartest person in the room, you have done something wrong. Surround yourself with people that will help you get to success. If your team is not actively helping you succeed, find another team. And if you don't have a team and you're struggling to succeed, I highly recommend you look at it. And if all you're looking at is how much money you could put in your pocket, shame on you, because you should be looking at how you can build and grow others. Don't get me wrong. I am looking at how I can start putting money into my pocket. After well over 6 figures invested into this business, a year in my time alone, it's about time I get what's owed to me. It's going to take some time to get there, and that's totally fine. But I do understand that there are limits. MadCat USA says, always team over money. There's something that my current employer is losing sight of, and they are hemorrhaging talent. See, that's what I love about today. Companies still don't understand that. They think everybody's replaceable, and I love it because I am poaching people from top firms in my area because I actually give a shit. And their employers don't. Sure, you can keep getting in the young, dumb people out of college that don't know what the hell they're doing, that think that they know what they're doing, and they're going to screw up jobs for you. Or you can keep working on your own team that you've been working on for the past 6 or 7 years, developing them. Turnover sucks. Worst Peter says, I'm the smartest person in the room because I'm the only person in the room. Well, get into a room with other people. When it comes to market validation, your customer needs to feel as though they're smarter than you. Whether they are or they aren't, they need to. Whether it is an end user that needs to kind of have it handed to them, or it's a business that needs to believe they've got one up on you. There are ways to prove out your product. When we define that persona, we need to see that that person is somebody other than you. If your persona is you, and you can't see anything other than it, then you don't have a business. You have a product. And if you go to a design firm and they say, I don't really see the market in your product, and you start to argue without evidence, woo! Not fun. Macca says, then you have people like me who are stuck because they need the benefits that come with the position. And I know the position that you're in, Mad Cat, and I'm sorry. It's tough. It is tough to be stuck in a job because you need the insurance. It's tough because the entire market for insurance is corrupt, and it's not good. And I'm not going to get into that today. Because it is insurance is why I do what I do. Insurance, moving on. I don't like insurance. I believe that we should have medicine that everybody can afford, right? Well, we're not going to talk about that. That's too personal. We're not going to talk about that today. I'll talk about it in the Discord. I'm not going to talk about it here. Too personal. Your target market is so incredibly valuable, and you may not know it. If you don't know who they are, or you misunderstand who they are, you're going to struggle. But a lot of times, you need to. That struggle helps you better understand. See, because there are 2 ways to do things. You can do it very fast and spend a lot of money, or you can do it really slow and bootstrap it. I'm just finally coming into what I believe is the core business of 3D Musketeers. I had it, but then the human malware hit, and life changed, and our business had to change with it. If your business is not able to change with the times, it will be doomed to fail along with the others that can't. The nice thing about a maker business is that it is incredibly easy to pivot. But that is also the bad side to a maker business, that it is incredibly easy to pivot because you might not spend the amount of time. There's this image of a gentleman mining for diamonds, really long tunnel. And he's like that far from the diamonds and he doesn't know it. And he's given up because he hasn't taken the time he's needed to get there. Wolfpact asks, what does the human malware mean? P.S. I'm a bit behind in the stream. Human malware is what occurred in 2020. If you need me to explain that further, you probably don't belong on this channel because you and I will disagree fundamentally on what is going on in the world. Spurluck says, not everyone is an entrepreneur. Some folks are great with ideas and engineering and even problem solving. There's a difference between a business and me selling a 3D print here or there. Yes, there is. And if you are someone that wants to take a hobby and turn it into your jobby, as Pooch says, then I think you will sincerely enjoy the subjects that we're going to be talking about here. If you're just a hobbyist that is maybe tickling the idea, you might enjoy this, but it might be a little too forward, I guess. And again, if you guys have subjects you want me to cover, let me know. I'm more than happy to do it. There are some subjects, just because of their nature, I will have to cover at a very 30,000 foot level, but I will do what I can to make sure that, we have cool content that you guys want to watch. Because I love talking about the business stuff. It's like therapy for me to talk about things that I've done right and done wrong. And it's a good way to atone for the things that you've done wrong in the past and try to look at how you can fix them in the future. Tony D says, since I have a really good job, so I'm looking at 3D printing as a hobby that I can try to make money from. Is that mindset good or bad? I think it's good. Because your mindset is, if I don't make money from it, it's no big deal. I don't lose anything. I still have a day job. I still have money coming in. I might like it. You have a really good day job, so you probably like it. So if you make money with 3D printing, great. You got extra beer money. You got extra money to take, the significant other out or find a significant other. You've got extra money to put down on a house or a loan, pay off credit cards, whatever it might be. But if you're looking at this saying, I need to do 3D printing to survive, as someone that's currently doing that, it's very tough. Tony D says, married 30 years, also keeps me married long. Yeah, that's true. Hobbies keep marriages, right? Make sure you understand the difference between a hobby and business. Spurluck says, self-funding hobby. Hey, there's nothing wrong with selling enough parts to pay for your filament. And there's nothing wrong with selling it cheap if you want. But don't just deliberately go and undercut people. If you want to sell some stuff to the neighborhood kids for cheap and let them run their own little side hustles, by all means. That's what we did during the fidget spinner days. We used to sell fidget spinners for relatively cheap, like $5 or $6 each to kids. But the deal was they placed a minimum order of 10 because I knew they were going to go out and hustle them to their friends for double. They maybe try to sell them for $10 each. We had some little entrepreneurs that were friggin' hustlers. They were so good. I remember having little kids try to come in and haggle me on the price. And I would say, you've come in here and ordered like 50 of these things with me, and you haven't bought your own 3D printer yet. Why is that? Well, I don't want to do the work. I said, I don't want to do the work for the amount that you're asking me for. So unless you want to take my original deal, you can go buy your own 3D printer and do it yourself. And you could just see the parents lighting up because I'm giving the kid really good business advice while giving a little bit of tough love where it's needed, right? And they would get it. A lot of times they'd get upset about that one because that is a little harsh. But I would say, look, here's the deal. You're making money by doing nothing but marketing it to your friends. I'm doing all the work here. I'm doing all the upfront work. And unless you want to start adding all that upfront work to the work that you do, which is going to drastically decrease the amount of time that you can be out selling, you got to pay someone else to do their job. Some of those kids have actually become entrepreneurs, which is kind of cool. I dig the hell out of it. Macca says, I'm looking into 3D printing as a side hustle to pay for itself. I can recoup the cost of filament by selling prints to coworkers. I made it clear I'm not selling the part, but rather my time in filament. I agree. Especially if you're going to be doing these merchant tiers with people like Wexter and Fotis Mint, where you can sell, the models they make. I believe it's better to sell them as material use and time than it is to sell it as the model itself, because then you get into some issues with copyright and trademarks and that kind of crap. Spurlock says, oh crap, my middle schooler wants to sell stuff in school. Yeah, I mean, look, that's how the idea of the Rainbow Loom came up. For those who don't know, we've actually interviewed Chun Ung with the Rainbow Loom, where he talks about he producing a product for his daughter and his daughter's friends. And that turned into a multi-million-dollar product that eventually won Toy of the Year globally in 2014. He's been on Jimmy Fallon, and he's been all these different places. The man is incredibly humble. And yet he firmly believes that he was days from getting to where he needed to get. So, be clear about it, right? Be very clear about it. So why should you care about all of this? Well, if you want to start building something for yourself, right? Boss makes $1, I make a dime. That's why I poop on company time, right? There's a reason for that saying. It's because bosses traditionally make a lot more money than their staff. For me, that's not the case. The staff make infinite amounts more than I do, percentage-wise, because I don't take a paycheck. But if you want to be the person that makes the dollar, I recommend that you pay people more than a dime. My goal is to be able to offer 6-figure salaries to the bulk of our staff in the next 5 years. I want to bring them on. And I know to poach them from their day jobs, I got to offer them that kind of rates. They don't know what those rates are. I've got them all written down. I know what those numbers are. I've done my research. But the team is what will help you succeed or fail. If you're just trying to do this as a hobby, make a little money, pay for the filament, buy a new printer every now and then, do it. Do it. By all means. But if you do want to take this seriously and you want to build a team, that team has to have the same ideas and goals that you have. As a business owner, I can say that I have had my team come to me, different people, and say, Grant, we want to help you make this business to where you can poach us from our day jobs. Grant, I want to thank you for the work that you've provided us because it's allowed me to go on vacation. Grant, I want to thank you. This is a lot of fun. I enjoy working here. Those are all things that matter to me so much. David Wilson says, I just try to not spend too much on the hobby. Spollock says, caveat on the hobby. Make sure you're enjoying it, not getting frustrated. You know, I would say that, but this gosh darn Bamboo wants to waste all my damn time. And it sucks because it's one of only a few printers on hand that can make the parts I need right now. I did get it unclogged, by the way. I found a way to do it. I will not be making a video out of it because I do not recommend you do what I did. But the fact that there are tools that exist for helping you unclog their nozzle means that there's a problem with those machines. I've identified it. It's the filament cutter. It needs to not cut filament if it's jammed. But yeah. John Olson says, I just came here for the Bamboo rant, and there it is. There will be an upcoming video, maybe a stream. Maybe we'll do like a 2 or 3 month stream in for the Bamboo. Because I will say, when it prints damn good. I have not seen ABS parts that clean in a while. But I also haven't had to ever unclog a cold end with from ABS. There are some engineering issues with that machine, and I hope that I can work with Bamboo Lab to fix it, if they want my assistance. If they don't, no big deal. But I believe that offering an olive branch to anybody is better than stabbing them in the back. That goes for competitors, that goes for clients, that goes for people. While I am upset with the amount of cash that I've spent, it appears I might even have a lemon. That's a problem. When am I going to get a replacement? I don't know. But I'm going to offer an olive branch to see what I can do to assist them. Not what they can do to assist me. Film and Story says, best way to work with a company is to rant about them constantly. I have a feeling that's being facetious. You sent me a bunch of messages. Okay, they're not related to the stream, but I have a feeling you're being facetious. Tony D says, I was hoping that bamboo would work. It looks cool if it worked. I just can't buy a machine that will take all that time to make it work. Yeah. Filament Story saying you think. Yeah, well, you know, I like to present products the way that I see them. And if they frustrate me, I don't want to lie about it to people. If that means I work with less companies, that means I work with less companies. Because I believe that the experience that I got is I didn't get a golden unit. I got a unit that I bought and it had problems. I've worked with bamboo and I've talked about it publicly. And I don't believe that that is unreasonable. Hack Monkey says, have you seen the Kokoni soda? I have. They are on my docket to reach out to next week. I would love to get one of those machines. I think they are super cool. Super, super cool. But yes, my demeanor in the way that I am unabashedly honest about things is why we don't have companies sending us stuff. It's why we don't have big sponsors. It's why channels that are half our size have big sponsors and we don't. I'm okay with that. Because I believe that it is better for me to be truthful and honest with you guys than it is for me to hide it. It is what it is. At the end of the day, I have a target market for YouTube, right? And I know what it is because YouTube tells it to me. And while I might not be the perfect fit, I'm not a Joel Telling, I'm not an Uncle Jesse, I'm not a Filament Stories. I'm different. And that's okay. I have a personality that you either love or hate, and I get that. But if there's one thing that I do, I don't lie. Tony D says I'm the same way, even though it gets me in trouble. Yeah, it gets me in trouble too. Gets me in a lot of trouble, more than a lot of you know. But it is what it is. You can't change the past. All you can do is work on changing the future by adjusting who you are in the present. You are diving into your blue ocean. Yeah, I am. But I've also checked the depths of it, and I know that it's okay. Right? Don't dive in head first until you know how deep the water is. And that goes for any market. You don't just want to take a leap of faith off the dock and hope that the water's not at 6 inches deep. And I guess for our male audience, 24 inches deep. You want to make sure that there's room for you to swim. And if you dive into something that is already occupied with a bunch of sharks, you're going to have a bad time. But if you dive into a blue ocean, as the blue ocean strategy suggests, you have the ability to go anywhere you want, do anything you want, and be whomever you want. When it comes to business, I believe that relationships matter more. I believe that being nice to others makes a lot. Yeah, Duff got that. Duff got that joke. That's a good one. Come on. Nothing like a thinly veiled dick joke for a podcast, right? But look, guys, market validation, business validation are how you understand whether or not you have something to go on, whether you have an idea or you have a hobby. And while I can't say that 3D Musketeers has been the most successful business on the planet, I can tell you it's been a very expensive hobby. I'm changing that this year. And I'm going to share some of it with you all. So I hope you all come along. It's going to happen in the podcast. We might do a couple of channel videos on it, but we're going to do it more on the podcast itself. Because that's where I can't hide behind an editor. And I have to be careful about what I say. But that's okay. It's more fun that way, I think. So my advice to you is that you need to know who you're working with and why. Because if you don't, you're going to find yourself in a position where you have all of this product and nobody to buy it. Take a look at the fidget spinner market. When that fad died down, And there are still companies with inventory that they can't turn. As a maker business, we never held an inventory. We made to order. So when the phase died down, I might have maybe 24 608 ball bearings still laying around. But dude, 608s are useful in so many things. They're skateboard bearings. I met Boca Bearings during that time. I met a few other people that we work with on a routine basis. I made relationships at the same time. You will find that whether you succeed or fail, you come out learning something new. And I believe you should learn more from your failures than you do your successes. Because I firmly believe that unless you bring enough market research to know the shot you're about to take is going to hit the exact target you want, success is a lot more luck than you might think. I think that's where we're going to wrap this one up. It feels like a good place to wrap up the podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. It's a little bit different. I'm trying to stay on subject more, but it's hard for me not to read the comments. The comments are right here. My talking points are right here, and the camera's right there. Because our goal is to start cutting these down and turn them into more content. That's why we have this AI note taker thing with me, because I'm marking things that I want cut down. We're going to turn them into YouTube shorts. Our goal is to hit 100,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and I'm going to do every damn thing that I can to get there. I hope you guys will join me in that journey. Because, boy howdy, 100K, there's good money that comes with that. And that means that I can afford to have a slow month with printers if we have a good month with content. I enjoy making these videos, and I hope you guys enjoy them as well. And I don't want to stop. Thank you all for coming out. That's all I really got for you all today. Make sure to leave a like on your way out, subscribe if you haven't, and support us over on Patreon and YouTube channel memberships if that's your kind of thing. Links, of course, are in that description. And as John Olson says, seems like shorts what everyone is turning to. They are. They are, because it is an easy way to grow an audience. It is considerably less effort than a full channel video, although they're still complicated and they require more editing. I find them easier to film, especially when I can cut them down from our main channel videos. But I've got an expert that I talk to often who I will be asking for their advice on this kind of thing. So Courtney, I'll be talking to you, because Filament Stories knows all about how to make really good short form content. If you don't know who Filament Stories is, go over and check out their channel. That's all I got for you guys today. Stay safe out there. Don't forget to call your loved ones. And as always, keep making awesome. Have a good one.